finish my wine.
Hello, and welcome back to the SEO Mastery Summit and the Q&A here for day number 5. I hope it's number 5. It's probably only number 4, to be honest with you.
Today is the 4th, but it's the 5th day.
I thought it was the 5th day.
No, obviously, and time zones for me. Obviously, I'm confused, so not worried. Right. First of all, big shout out to all our amazing sponsors, particularly our bigger sponsors, ODYS, Boss Logic, Investors Club, and IMG Courses. We also have a new offer from SEO Content Hero that's currently giving $50 off on content. So don't hesitate to visit them through our fantastic link. Now, on the live today, it's all about link building. So Judith Lewis, Elias, and Chris Brooks. Lots of link building. I hope you guys are ready. So I wanted to start off by actually showing a very eager outreacher. So I have this little guy here. He's a huge fan of outreach. He's doing it not for links, but he loves connecting to strangers and asking for food. So he have eagerly been sitting watching the webinars to try and figure out what the best outreach methods are. And he's hoping to be fat after this one.
He wants his biscuit and treat.
He does. And he's very persistent. So that's what link building requires, persistency.
If he talks to a lot of people, I bet he'll get some treats.
He does. And he have these magical sad eyes. It's like, give me food. And Gary Wilson himself as well. Hey, Gary. We are just kicking off, so let's get started with all these questions. Lots of link building questions here. The first one is around link exchanges. How much is okay and how much is too much?
Exchanges?
Yeah, so
like you give me a link and I give you a link. Like, what's the point? Is like
I think it's two sites that interchange, basically.
Yeah, no. I mean, I remember link exchanges back in, what was it, 2006, 2005, maybe earlier. They were hot, like Smurfs. I remember when Smurfs were hot too, and they should go about the same way as Smurfs. There's a small undercurrent somewhere of super fans, but other than that, we should just do away with them.
I think I would say it's a little different, which is that I would not do three-way links at this point, definitely. So if someone approaches you and they're like, hey, link to my great site, and I like you so much that I'm going to link back to you from another site over here that I bought a bunch of links to get its DR up or something like that. So I would be very hesitant about three-way linking because I think it, the goal is to game Google's algorithm. And I think that's going to fall under, Google's guidelines of don't do this. If you look at Google's page on link schemes, what they say is don't do excessive link exchanges. And so my number for that is like, if you're linking, well, if a really authoritative link has linked to you at some point, and a year later you think they're the perfect resource, like I wouldn't hesitate to link to them, even though it's a reciprocal link in this case. You have sort of done a link swap. It's just unintentional. So I would never hesitate to do that as long as it's an authoritative site. And if you've built a relationship with a site in your niche and it's an authoritative site, I definitely don't think it's going to hurt you to do a link exchange with them every once in a while. Like if you did a link exchange every couple of months, I think you might get some marginal benefit from that. And I don't think it will hurt you. But I agree with Judith that it's like, it's probably not going to swing you to the top of the SERPs or anything like that.
Swings and threesomes, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say we have actually been doing quite a bit of it, and it seemed to work better than ever. Particularly, I mean, particularly small local businesses, right? When they're collaborating with each other and stuff, and the links are natural. Obviously, there's very unnatural cases where you absolutely don't want to. But I think, I mean, again, if you look at all the big SEO tools, right, they often link together to other tools and so on. So it's definitely not unnatural. But yeah, like you say, Chris, you want to keep it to some sort of level. Any experience from you, Gary, on this one?
Ooh, he's the silent man.
We can't actually hear Gary.
And I'm muted. There we go. That's me in now. Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so I've actually done link exchanges for years on just my own affiliate projects. I actually did the opposite of what Chris said. Like I do quite a lot of like freewheeling exchanges. So what I essentially did was, so I've got like a bunch of PBNs for my sites, for like other sites that I wasn't really using. And if I wanted on a specific site, what I would do is essentially go to the site, and instead of paying them or doing whatever they asked, I would often say to them, hey, I'll give you 1 or 2 links from these other sites, which I didn't care about at all. Like they're completely separated. They're nothing even to do with the money site I'm working on. So it's completely separated. And I basically say, right, link to one of my money sites I'm working on that's completely separate, and I'll give you a link from those. And it's worked very, very well for years. As long as, I mean, essentially, like if you do a lot of that, the links that you're providing out to these people, if you're using the same sites, it's going to be really garbage because you're just doing tons of link exchanges on them, and they're going to be really low quality links. But from your point of view, you're still getting some good quality links into your money site. I just think you need to keep a very strong separation between the two. Don't use those sites to link to your money site and then get link exchanges from the same sites and make like a network. You want to keep it really separate. And that for me has worked super, super well for years for my own affiliate stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great point. I'll jump in and say, yes, that's a great point, Gary. I was thinking about it from the opposite part of that relationship, where if someone approaches you about a link exchange, they offer sort of a 3-way, but I didn't say that. So that's an excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't accept it.
Your freeways, right? You're talking about like a network. Like I'm saying, don't make a network. Just have like separate sites, which are nothing to do with the money site you're working on, and just use those for the purposes of exchanging links to get free links. That's basically what I'm saying. So there's a separation in from Google's point of view, you're just getting links in from these sites, which are sometimes having some links from these other dodgy sites that you're not really using.
Yep, makes sense. Right, next question is, it's pretty short, but best negotiation tactics for getting links cheaper. And then it says in brackets, particularly ones that can be used by VAs. That's
funny. I mean, our SOP, so I'll give you my one on this. So we have a very simple SOP. It's basically that I like to be really cheap. So whatever price somebody offers, so we have like tiered pricing based on the authority of the link that we'll basically allow ourselves to pay. But no matter what somebody comes back with, like sometimes a site that's a really high authority will come back with $40. We just flat out have in our SOP to half the price that whatever is offered. And then in some way there, we'll usually get some form of discount or negotiation. And with whatever comes out at the end, as long as it's under the threshold price based on the metrics of that link, we'll just take it, even if they don't negotiate 50% and it was still a cheap enough link to fit under that metric. That works. Oh, I've cut out there. That works really well from like an SOP point of view. It's very simple. It's straightforward. It's not difficult to manage. But like if I was doing negotiation myself, I've just like completely slashed pricing. I think a lot of people get really caught up on single prospects when they're outreaching and they really want to like find the best way to negotiate. Like just go and send more emails and have more prospects. You'll eventually get a bunch of really, really great prices coming through, even offered to you up front. If you just reach out to more people, and like I pretty much say is just don't get caught up in one person ever. And try to find a way of negotiating someone from $100 to $20. It'd be easier just to go and find another 5 prospects and find someone who will give you a link for $20 on the whole part. But yeah, that's my sort of back end SOP for negotiation at scale.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Actually, during my talk, I gave my formula. I don't try to beat people down because I get long-term benefit from it. So I don't just get the link. I get repeated social promotion. I get all sorts of additional benefit from non-negotiation and paying their PayPal fee. So I guess I go the opposite in that I have a system where based on their stats, I pay them a certain amount. If they're over, I just say, I'm sorry, you're not for me. And the people who are within those tiers or willing to come down to within those tiers, I engage with them. But then over time, if I have other stuff to promote, I get free promotion off of them. So it's not just the single link that I get off of them. The relationship really pays dividends. But I'm not negotiating down in that case. I'm working to a band, and that band I stay within based on stats.
Right. Yeah, I really like your speech, Judith, and I really like the way you build up networks. That's obviously easier if you do it in a certain niche, or if you have a certain volume, right? Because for most people, if you're sitting at home and have 2 or 3 sites, really building out a whole network of bloggers can be a little bit tiresome. What I have sometimes recommended people is, do that kind of thing, but do it within one niche. So if you have a pet site, find a bunch of pet people where you have good relationship with, because again, you can use that to trade with other people with pet sites and things like that, where you build sort of multiple relationships, right? Anyone else on this one, or all good?
I'll jump in on it. So we never ever pay for links, period. But I would say that in general, think of your this is kind of a combination, I think, of what Judith and Gary are saying, that like you want to think long term in your link building. And so to parrot the piece that Gary's saying, like, you want to approach lots and lots and lots of people. The more swings you have, the higher chance you have to get a link, period. And then the other piece I would say is that because this is a repeated game for you, the link builder, what you want to be doing is documenting every response that you get in a negotiation. Because even if you're not paying, you're still negotiating, right? And so if you document those responses, you can also be trying experiments, okay? And be saying like, okay, they asked me to get paid. How do I respond to that in a way that I can still get a link out of it, even though I'm not going to pay? And you can test different responses in that case. And some of the time you can still get links. So it's kind of an A/B test kind of approach you can take.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, and totally agree with Gary's method, right? I mean, the thing is, it's easy to get caught up, particularly when you see some decent links, right? But yeah, plenty of fish in the sea, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. How to hide PBN links, and should you still hide PBN links in 2020?
Depends on the niche you're in. That's what would be my answer. I used to hide PBN links. There's a few plugins out there you can get. I can't remember what they're called. You want to PM me, I'll find them for you because I've got them in some old PBNs. But like I'm in one really, really spammy health niche, and quite a few of the PBNs have been like attacked with like negative SEO. We're trying to like de-index them, which kind of sucks. But for the most part, in most of the regular niches I'm in, I've never really had like bunch PBNs going down, or I've never had sites attacked in kind of any weird way. And I think it looks kind of natural just to keep them open as well to the OpenEyes, because Google could come and spoof bot your PBNs and potentially see that you're hiding like Ahrefs bots, SEMrush bot, and it's might be a good footprint for them to kind of maybe partially detect PBNs in the future. So that's why I would kind of advise against doing it. Because who would be hiding, Ahrefs bot other than like an SEO guy who's like hiding a PBN? So I think that could be like a really good way for them to figure it out. That's why I don't hide them now, but I still have some that are hidden, and I would probably recommend it in a really, really spammy niche where you don't want your competitors seeing the actual PBNs that you've got there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I've just been unpicking somebody's work, which I have a girl crush on them. So if I ever meet them in person, like I really have a girl crush on them. They did some beautiful work, absolutely gorgeous. Like the methodologies they had for hiding their links and throwing bunches of spammy links. Like, fuck, man, they bought domains and they're still throwing links at the domains they've redirected to the money site. I mean, holy shit. They were doing, I love them, and so many other things. So there are some hidden PBN links. There are some non-PBN links. There are all sorts of things that are, and it's a thing of beauty to look at this network. So I think, like Gary said, you don't necessarily have to hide them anymore. But if you're going to do something like that, you probably going to want to hide some of them because you don't want to lose the farm, right? just keep things safe and keep them sane and sensible and separate. All the S's.
Yep. I've always, we used to build thousands and thousands of PBNs every week for clients. And we used to use this Lion Seal plugin that basically make it look like, to everyone else in Google, it looked like not a link even, right? So it would actually disguise it as, it would only show Google that it was a link, and that was definitely good at the time. But yeah, just like Gary said, I'll be very cautious having that on many sites nowadays, because if Google wanted to up-troll your network, it would be an easy footprint to follow.
Real easy.
So
But hopefully you're not doing the same thing on all your PBN sites. I mean, hopefully there's separation. There's some walls. I hope.
Yeah.
You know, you can pray. Well, if I ever go live with the blog, with the piece that I hope to write one day about this network I am picked, then do that, because fuck man, it worked. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty.
That's
Right.
why I love using public domains.
yeah. And
I think that, you know, SEO is separated in two categories. The first category is the PBNs. You do link exchanges, you do all those stuff, and the other category is using automation. So, you know, we belong, of course, to the automation guys that we have created and implementing our own SEO strategies using public domains, Web 2.0, social bookmarkings. You know, it is a combination of modern SEO, modern link building, but has some, some things from the SEO that we did back on 2004, 2005, but it is updated. And of course, using automation, just, you know, press a couple of buttons, implement your strategy, and you got the result you want.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And again, it ties into the next question here. So does easy ways of linking like SAPE still work today?
If the links are good, yeah, sure. Like, I think people get too caught up on the strategies like SAPE or guest posts or niche edits, and it's like, or PBNs, and it's like, just like get good at analyzing what a good link actually is. And it doesn't matter what type of link it is or what website you get it from, or just try to analyze what real websites look like metrics, traffic, understand the benefits behind a good link. And yeah, sure, these methods, though I'm sure there's tons of links that are on SAFE that are still very good to get. You just have to be good at looking at what the good ones actually are.
Yeah. In the same way that article spinning still works.
Yeah.
Just don't use GPT-3 to whatever, because that's already bustable. Any machine built, like any GPT built text, is already computer understandable as computer rendered text. So it's already not going to rank well. So fuck that. Get, Fiverr or whatever people to write it up. But it works. It still works. Press releases still work. All the bullshit that we used to do in 2010, 2012 that suddenly got penalized works again. Just be sensible. Be level-headed about it. Don't be stupid. When you're stupid, that's when you get burned.
Yeah. I think the people who fail are the people who go to think SAPE's the big thing, and they go and buy every SAPE link you can see without actually saying, well, no, let me look at this network here and pull out the 18 best links I can find from SAPE that are good priced, that are actually going to benefit my site. And the best SEOs understand what a good link looks like, or what you're saying, good content looks like, what will actually work. Once you understand those principles, you can apply it to whatever method of link building or content building you're actually doing. It work absolutely fine.
Yeah. Excellent. That sounds good. And the next question says 301 for links. Wherever expired domains or auction domains, are they a good longer term strategy, do you think? Or will they get hit big time?
Expired or auction, so they're talking about like the registration date being.
Well, I take it basically buying domains and just 301ing them,
right?
Either to main site or subcategories or something.
For sure. So far, I can speak this for PBNs, and the reason why I'm going to say it for PBNs is because it probably Google will look at the same thing. So like what the difference between an expired domain and an auction domain is essentially the registration date in WHOIS is after when the majority of the links originally came in. So if a link was, let's say there was a conference in 2012 and the conference website completely expired and then someone re-registered the conference website in 2017, Google can essentially see that links came in 2012, but the new registration date is in 2017. Now, I have personally noticed a drop in a lot of value for PBNs, which essentially have, or not all PBNs, but expired domain PBNs, essentially, not auction ones that have the right date per the links that came in. So I've not tested it for 301s, but I presume you could still have the same problems with that. And if it was me working with that, I would essentially not bother trying to go after completely expired domains as 301s for that reason, just because I've noticed a dip on PBNs. And it's very easy for Google to look at, we've got all these links coming in 2012, let's just discount them for 301s and, when they're used as outbound link juice, because the new registration date was later on, and it's something that somebody who's buying a PBN later on would very, very easily take advantage of. So that's my personal opinion based on PBNs. I've not tested it.
Anyone else have a shot at this one?
The lovely, the girl crush site network that I have my little girl crush on that gives me shivers when I look at it. They've done some beautiful work with 301 redirects. So they've bought some domains up and they're still throwing links at those domains, and those domains are 301 to specific relevant sections of their site. So it's not just homepage, it's a relevant site that they have bought. It was a relevant domain, it had relevant content. They are throwing that, they're 301ing it to a relevant page on the website, and it still is acquiring links to the expired, to the domain they bought, that is then 301ing to the page, and they're winning. They're absolutely caning it. They've got double listings. They're 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. It's beautiful. So it is working in this case for this domain. I can't say for everyone, but I can say that in this case, it's doing quite well for them right now. Whether it's a long-term strategy, I wouldn't necessarily say that would be my only arrow in my quiver. I'd have lots. I'm sure Gary would agree. I'm sure everyone would agree.
Absolutely. Don't
do one thing. Have lots of different techniques.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, it should be in the mix. And I think a lot of people mess this up with, 301ing expired domains or whatever, is they come in and buy an completely expired site that was, on the internet 5 years ago, that was never ranking for anything, probably, although it's got some links. The links were garbage because it was never ranking for anything. And they expect to now 301 this to their new site, and for that site to miraculously take those same links and suddenly get some sort of boost in Google. It just doesn't make much logical sense. From my point of view, I'm completely with Judah. If you want to find completely relevant domains, almost domains that were ranking for those relevant terms in the past, and either link them to hubs within your site. And if you're going to be linking them to the homepage, well, it needs to be related to what the entire site's about. There needs to be something that makes sense, and you need to be sending in a site with links that had got results in the past, because those are the type of links you would want to build now. So that would be my overall thesis on sort of coming in.
So my overall experience is definitely that. Yeah, my experience is definitely that it works. What I've seen is it's not so important what the old page was about. What's very important is the actual anchor text. So if you 301 a domain that have a ton of anchor text saying dog food, but you are redirecting it to a site about, I don't know, garden sheds, that will likely not work. However, what I've seen is if you have domains that have a lot of branded anchors, that can often work, but you want to have that branded anchor on the page that you're actually 301ing to. So if you have a domain called Peter's Dog Food, even if you're redirecting to a site about garden sheds, you want to mention Peter's Dog Food, right? And what I've also seen, there's sites out there that's literally killing it, just 301ing ton of domains, right? And they often spike and then they disappear, right? But in the spike, they can make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So you often see sites going up to millions in traffic, right? But I definitely see that happening a lot. Now, also, one of the key reasons to keep building links to these expired domains is the fact that you want to move the anchor text ratio. So often the reason that you want to keep building links to expired domains is that you want to impact what is the actual anchor text, right? And also, again, it's a layer of protection, because in principle, you can remove the 301 if you suddenly realize some of the links you built were dodgy, whereas you can't really, well, it's harder to remove the links if they go straight to your site.
Yeah. First, you buy the expired domain, then you fix the link profile of this expired domain, and then you make the redirection.
Yeah.
To the
Yeah,
desired
and
URL.
if you have an expired domain, right, that haven't had any links the last 5 years, that is significantly less likely to work. If you actually build some new links to it, some recent links, you're much more likely to also get value from some of the older links, in my experience.
Exactly. No. This is what we do. Exactly. This is what we do.
Yeah.
First, we fix the link profile of the expired domain, and then make sure that it will get some quality links. We use a lot of branded anchors, and then we do the redirection.
Yeah.
But we keep building links even after the redirection. We keep building links to the expired domain.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a question for you, gentlemen, three folks. Excuse me. Like, why would someone link to a domain that's redirected to a different domain? What's the natural use case of that link?
Well, they often just forget about it.
Example that I heard that's actually really good. So, for example, if you buy a different company, very often you would see a press release going out that would mention both the links. So that would definitely be the case. Now, that would
I see what you're saying. You're talking about new links that you're building.
Yeah.
Right after you've redirected the domain to a new domain.
So the sort of press release kind of scenario makes sense. Why would someone keep building links 2 years later?
Because you pay them.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. The cash.
But why would a search engine look at that link as anything other than an odd, wonky signal?
Because it could have been an old business. Imagine Apple rebranded to Pear. Like, people could still be talking about Apple, and linking to the old website. Could happen.
Could happen. Okay. One other idea, and so Gary, you had talked about this case where a domain expires in 2015 and someone buys it again in 2020. Several of you mentioned this scenario. One other case you could do is take that domain, splash up a page that says, hey, this domain was acquired by whatever your relevant related site is.
Yeah.
Reach out to everybody that linked to the expired domain and say, hey, we've acquired that site. Would you please fix the link and point to our site now? And then after you've gotten whatever links you can get from that process, then just 301 redirect, and you get the double, but you still you don't lose any 301. You don't lose the juice from the redirect.
For sure.
Except some people will just take down the link, but it's kind of an intermediate strategy you could use.
Yeah, that would absolutely work fine. It just depends on what type of links the site had that was that basically had expired. Like, there's some niches where you're going to struggle to do that outreach because potentially the links that they built are kind of spammy, or they're PBN sites or whatever. It's not sites you can necessarily reach out to. There's some niches where you absolutely can do that. There's got a lot of editorials or different things that have contact forms on the website where they would naturally just change the link over. So, but yeah, that's a really good strategy that would work well just in reclamation for it.
Totally legitimate strategy. I talked about link reclamation in my talk as well as something that I did with an agency as a background task. Just, something that just companies should be doing in the background anyway, all the time. Check your backlink profile. If you have a disagreement with dev and they make things 404, then reclaim those links, reach out to those sites and ask them to repoint to the next most relevant page. Definitely works. The scenario I'm talking about is someone trying to hide their backlink profile. So they're definitely doing some dodgy stuff. I admire them. I think that they're beautiful people, and I hope that they go on to do amazing, wonderful things with the hundreds of thousands of dollars they're making every month. But like, you know, that's their methodology. That's their methodology. But you're talking about like a white hat legit link building, whereas I think Gary and I are talking about a little bit grayer.
Well, let me
You know,
go
when you
black
do
for a
colored
second.
laundry with
Like,
whites.
you could go black with this as well and literally just do image. I've done this a few times, not kind of proud of it, but like you can just do image reclamation for, say you've acquired a site that you've not acquired. It does work. Like you can just say basically we've moved over here and please take them down and put us up. And if you want your competition to go one way and you want to go the other way, then it works very well. Sometimes as well, you could just pay a site to take them off, put you on. That's part of the deal. I'll pay your $40 if you do that. Just putting ideas out there. Not saying I've done that.
Yeah, I had a friend who used to do these domains just for competition purpose. So, for example, like bestgardenblog.com or something, and then run a competition, get all these blogs to link to it, because you know they all want to be the best garden blog. And then after the competition is over, that domain magically got 301 to another domain. So,
yep, it's like back in the days of Beached Limo. Most of you are probably too young to remember beachedlimo.com. It was all pictures of limousines that got stuck, usually in San Francisco because of the steep incline of the hills. So they got stuck and they were called beached because they were beached on the edge of the road. And so, hi, Craig. So the Beached Limo website, it took these pictures and it got lots of links to it and then redirected to a Miami Beach limo rental company. Miracle of miracles. And that was like an early example of that kind of behavior. So yeah, it's got a long and proud tradition.
Yeah. Speaking of Craig, actually, I was at an event with Craig, and there was a guy that had created this. Just so much what you're saying, Judith. There was a guy that was trying to rank a client for bukkake, which is like a really weird keyword. And what he did is he created this really smart. He created this persona up called John Bukkake, who was apparently this MIT scientist, and essentially built up a crap ton of links for John Bukkake, with like Bukkake as the anchor text. Obviously, if you were reaching out as the real Bukkake, people wouldn't probably build, it'd be quite hard to build links for that, but basically amass tons of links and then use that to rank the Bukkake site. But yeah, just because Craig popped out there, just remember that one as well. But yeah, you can do some really weird stuff that you get creative with this. You just got to go as black hat as you're willing to go. That's essentially the way to think about it.
excellent. So there's a question for Elias here on rep management. So a user on Legit does 100 social accounts. Can I buy that plus post and freely use SEO Autopilot diagrams to push some stuff to page 2? Any recommendations appreciated?
So
I'm glad that's your question.
yeah. So if those are social profiles, if I understand correct.
Yeah.
So if those social profiles are have been indexed on Google, then of course you can use them. However, it is easier to do reputation management by using SEO Autopilot to rank some way better properties, assets like contextual link properties, like Web2Os, Web2O profiles, even wiki websites. You can rank, easily those assets. You can index easily those assets with Omega Indexer within 24, 48 hours, and then start building links with SEO Autopilot to those properties. But now I don't know what to say about if you buy them or not. If I were you,
my thought would be that it doesn't actually make sense to having to buy those, right? Just
exactly.
use SEO Autopilot. You wouldn't need to connect them to social profiles.
I mean, it is better to use, for example, a PR service to get 200, 300 PR links, and you can boost the 20, the best 20 of those URLs with good metrics. And then you can be more aggressive on your SEO strategy and throw a couple of thousand of links on those assets, and then you can rank whatever you like. And of course, you can demote other URLs from the first page. So I guess not. Don't buy them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, so I'm running a bit of a test here after the event with Elias, and that's relevant to the next question that says, I like the look of SEO Autopilot. Is it too good to be true though? And so we're actually going to run a couple of case studies just to see, with these older link building methods, what you can still do. And really because, my experience is it still works, right? But I want to make sure we have some solid case studies.
Yeah, everything is noted. Everything. We keep track of everything.
Right. There's another one here on 301. So expired domains versus auction domains, they're often significantly cheaper for expired. Does it make a big difference either way? I think we kind of answered
that one.
At least Gary kind of answered that one. So next one here, setting up the ideal link building team. What type of links do you start with if you're an affiliate?
Good ones. Ones that make you rank.
So I'd say, let's take it from a different angle. Let's say you're building your first affiliate site. What's the easiest link type to start with?
Sure. So do they mean for if I was starting a completely brand new site, I would be building like foundational links, like maybe social profiles, citations, things like that would make the business look very natural. I honestly think the best strategy, if you're like a brand new affiliate just coming into the space, is to literally go through and start looking at your competitors in your niche, see what links they have, and figure out, reverse engineer how they got them. Like exactly what Judith was saying, she was fangirling over earlier. Like that's exactly how I do it. And like in different niches, there's different types of links that people naturally have. So to come in and say like, oh, coming into niche edits for every niche is a bit of a silly strategy. Like you should be coming in and saying, well, okay, these sites on average have a high density of PBNs and forum links because that naturally happens in this space. So I'm going to come in and build similar types of links to the competition and just do it better. So that would be my recommendation. There isn't like a right, like you can really build any type of link to any site as long as it's got the right characteristics, and it will work and help. And it's really down to what you want to do. Like, are you the type of person that wants to, is good with web design and hosting and wants to build a bunch of PBN network, build a PBN network and rank that way? Or are you a guy that really loves just emailing people and doing outreach and negotiating deals? Like, there's so many different strategies and ways you can build links. And I think you want to look into yourself. And for me, it was always like so easy just to jump on an email and type out to people. And that was why I got so good at outreach. That was just the easiest thing for me to scale my own link building. But for you, it's going to be different just based on what skill sets you currently have and what you currently feel is right. But if you're completely stuck, just look at your competition and just start to replicate from there. I can guarantee that's how you get the best results.
Yeah.
We have a different approach in this. In every site, especially if it is a new site, we suggest to our members to do for 2 months to do the pillowing period, to throw a pillow to their link profile. And we got a special diagram that it is called domain authority stacking, where you acquire links, plain URLs without anchors, only plain URLs, in order to start creating your link profile and be 100% safe that that you are not over optimized or under optimized or stuff like this. Okay, so you basically acquire links from public Web 2.0s, only Web 2.0s, for the first 2 months, and after the pillowing period, after the 2 months, that you have get 1,000, for example, 1,000 plain URLs, then you start building your actual link profile by getting high authority links from authority sources, and start implementing creating your anchors, your primary keywords with 10 to 15%, then go more aggressive, go 20%, 30%, and start getting links from different sources. On SEO Autopilot, we got 10 different link sources that you can mix your link profile. So a website start climbing, start getting popular in a very, very natural way.
So do you mean naked anchors or brand anchors, or?
On the first 2 months, it is only plain URLs, only naked URLs. Okay, on the third month, you start using 20%, 15 to 20% targeted anchors, and 20 to 30% percentages does not matter a lot, but we are used to create the strategies according to percentages. Okay, but we are using primary keywords and branded keywords and some generic keywords to mix up the link profile. After the 4th or 5th month, then we are extremely aggressive with 50% targeted anchors. That is why we, even on a high competition niches, we see results in even on the 5th, 6th month or 7th month.
Cool. Question for me: any of you guys seen any penalties recently, like any manual penalties?
No, never. I do SEO for 12 years. I've never had a penalty.
Well, I've had tons, but not on money sites. I've had it on PBNs. I mean, anyone who knows me knows that my PBNs are like churn and burn sites. Like, literally have like 500 words of content on them. But the way I look at them is that like I'm spending like $100 or $200 on a site, and if like 5% of the whole network goes down, it's like I'll just replace it. I'm not really that bothered if a few of them go down and I lose them. Saves me having to like build the sites out properly and do everything that everyone else does with them. I keep my natural links more like on the outreach site and things like that, but never money sites, just PBNs that clearly should be penalized.
It's been a long time since I took a penalty.
Yeah,
but okay. I've taken penalties in the past, but not since Panda. Like since Panda was manually run, I've not taken a penalty. But I'm not personally running PBNs. So that's something that, other people do. Not in a bad way, more in I have people that do that for me thing. But,
Are you PBN shaming me?
No. I'm just saying that I have people for that. I'm being diva-esque. And I think the PBNs are that as long as you're siloing things and you're not putting other parts of your PBN at risk, there's no point in not taking chances. because if you don't gamble, you don't win. So you've got to gamble and take a chance to win big. So, and like I said, I've got a girl crush on this site that's doing some amazing work, and you can do really, really good things. And as long as you have distributed your risk, and they've done this in a beautiful way, as long as you distribute your risk, it doesn't matter if you take penalties on non-money sites.
Yeah. No, yeah, please don't remind me about the good old days and link penalties. But yeah, I haven't seen ones for about 3-4 years or so. So I'm just curious. Yeah.
Wow.
Can I jump in on the last question, which maybe relates back? I can't quite figure out if this relates or not, but I think this is so cool because there are so many different approaches to SEO represented right here, which is amazing. So I ran the same site for 17 years, 17. And I was always like deathly afraid of getting slapped by Google. Okay. And so I always only built white hat, like the whitest of white hat way I could figure out. That's what I tried to do. Still try to do. But I would say to that question of how you link build, if that's a kind of approach you want to take, that I don't think you should be thinking about link building particularly early in your process at all. Actually, like you should really start with content, and you should build a system for identifying and building useful monetizable content. And you should only start thinking about link building when someone can come to your site and have a really useful experience, and you can actually solve problems for them. And then you can start, I would then start outreach-based link building, which I think everyone's done outreach-based link building, right? So no one's opposed to it, except that maybe it has some different, it does have disadvantages. But anyhow, I think this is a really cool panel because, Elias has a certain approach he takes to it, and Judith and Gary, it sounds like your approaches are pretty complementary to each other. And Mads, I know you've tried like 7 million different things, so I'm not sure that you have an approach, but many.
Friends.
Chris, this is something important that you said, and I want to tell you something. Not everybody, as you can see, not everybody speaks good English. Okay, so what other non-English speakers do? Okay, they just spin articles. Okay, they find an article, or they write. They have a writer that they write to them only one article, and then what they do is to spin the article because they have to play the game. Okay, so Google knows that. Because Google will not penalize you because you are not good in English grammar. That is why spin content is still effective. Okay, so imagine the rest of the world that they do not speak English and they want to promote, for example, something in the US market or in the UK market. So they need to do something about their link building efforts. So that is why we have thought about different approaches in SEO. We have seen what works and what not. Okay, and definitely a good content is the key, for example, but not everybody is able to write good content or pay for an English writer, to write them content. That is why there are so many different SEO approaches and SEO strategies. And you follow what is best for you. Of course, in Greek, I can write essays, if you like, in my language. I can write you essays, and I will rank first page on Google.gr. But that's not the case, especially if you are dealing with global case studies and global projects. You need to find the way that suits your needs, and your knowledge.
For anyone who saw Stacy's presentation, she actually covers that as well, spun content and the crazy funny ways that it can go wrong. And Craig has some very interesting ways of leveraging non-English language content as well. So yeah, Craig is obviously part of the conference as well. So he's got some excellent ideas around taking Greek content and spinning it out for the English language market as well.
That could be fun.
Well, there's certain countries that are. I have a friend that says that there's certain countries that are much better at translating from that language to English. So,
Sweden,
for example,
I think it was.
Sweden as an example, Swedish content translate very well into English, whereas certain countries absolutely do not. But yeah, I think I like your approach, Chris. I think it's very interesting that, again, everyone have different plays, right? And I think, honestly, what happens in the SEO world is you start out, you do things, and when you find stuff that works, you just keep doing it, right? Which makes sense. So different methods work for different people, but obviously you're always trying to learn from others. And, it's always like anything to do with link building, you always have to use some sensible risk assessment, which was what all about yours talk, Judith. But I think that the interesting part for me is the fact that, we have sites making a lot of money that, I can't read the content. Not that it's, yeah, if you read 3 lines of the content, it's obvious that it's either written by someone with very poor language skills or whatever, right? And they're still making good money. Even like product comparison, like if you like, I love the gear hungry way where you start by putting, three comparison table with 3 products in the top. If you know how many people just click on those products without ever reading a piece of content, you can make money with bad content. So I totally agree with your approach, though. In general, Chris, like you want some key money pages that have solid content, right? Because that obviously makes the likelihood that your effort is worth it so much more. But yeah, I have a lot of friends that have made a lot of money with also not very quality content, if we say it that way.
There's no Pulitzer Prize winners necessarily among that content that's ranking so well.
No, definitely not. Right. This one is very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to hear the responses on this one. So 2021, what changes in link building?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Google knows.
Google's just done an algorithm update, so ask me in a week when that finished rolling out. Like for the most part, for the last since I got into SEO anyway, 4 or 5 years ago, things have been fairly similar on a link building site. Like build links that are relevant, have power. Covered quite a bit in my presentation, my methodology on it, but I keep it quite simple, and it's worked absolutely very well for years. People who aren't getting results doing that probably just not building enough links. That's my thoughts on it. But yeah, I would say it's going to be much the same. They may introduce things, and we'll only know that when they release algorithm updates and we actually start to see it. I don't ever try to envision what Google's going to do, because they always do 360s and algorithm updates all the time, and you're kind of left sitting there trying to work it out, pick up the pieces at the time.
Yeah, they often don't know what they're doing either. So
no, exactly. So they'll protect with logic because they don't have it.
Also, it would be interesting to see if they will fix the indexing issues on Google Search Console, because
that would be nice.
There are a lot of people that they are complaining that we submit sitemaps and only 20 or 30% of the sitemap is getting indexed. And for example, we got a huge e-commerce website, and none of our products are indexed on SERPs.
They're clearly having a mass scale crawling issue just now. They've just not really, spoken about it, because it's insane. You can't submit anything just now. Like things are taking quite a lot of my sites taking a very long time to actually get crawled again. And even though sites are doing very well, it's kind of a weird place in the SERPs at the moment, I've noticed, for the last 6 months. So hoping this update we're seeing some miracles. I think a lot of the top level SEOs are hoping for some good stuff from this one.
I don't know that it's like algorithmically linked. I'm wondering if they haven't reached certain limitations. So I'm wondering if it isn't a database issue, so to speak, because think about the size and scale of the internet. And I, as much as other people here in this room possibly, am responsible for adding to the breadth and depth of questionable content out there, but Google still has to spider it, right? It's still having to crawl it. And so I'm out there pumping out hundreds of pages on hundreds of websites, and so are a lot of other people. And at a certain point, we exponentially grow to a point where the database and the methodologies of not only crawling it, but indexing it and understanding the index reach a practical limit where the next iteration has to take such a big step. Technology might not necessarily be readily capable at this moment of taking that leap. So it could just be a physical, like, I know we've got craze, we've got water-cooled craze, we're moving into the era of quantum computing, but that doesn't mean that Google has caught up with all of that. So it could very well be that what we're going to see in link building in 2021, it might be that like age domains and like going back to the old days of asking for links on pages with unlinked citations that are old and therefore in the index might become more important for 6 months or something like that, just because they're indexed and other people aren't.
Interesting. I haven't heard that approach before, but yeah,
that's interesting.
Now, I would not do it myself. I don't like wasting time. I might hire somebody to do it on like Upwork, but I wouldn't do it myself. But this is what could happen if it is a physical limitation of computing power. Then it could be that, like we might see in the first half of 2021, that all of a sudden it becomes more valuable to ask for a link, an unlinked citation to become linked, or something like that, than to go out find new pages for new links.
Cool.
Can I give a really practical suggestion that I think relates to this issue of the size of the internet? Right. So there's this whole issue of like the internet's really freaking big. And so we just discovered 2 months ago, right? There a really simple trick to allow us to do more outreach. Okay. We had just been using hrefs to figure out who links to a particular page, right? Broken link, skyscraper link, whatever. And I know there are other companies that have their own crawls of the web, right? There's Moz, for example, and other folks. And so one day we went out and we actually pulled the crawl of a particular broken link from Moz and compared it to the crawl of that broken link on Ahrefs. And like 60% of the DR15 plus links that, I'm not saying this well. So we found an additional, like let's say it was 500 backlinks that we found on Ahrefs to a particular broken link. We went and took the crawl of the same link on Moz, and we found another 300 backlinks that were DR15 plus that Ahrefs didn't know about, which like mind blown. Like just gives you a sense of like how freaking big the crawl of the internet is. Like the internet is really big. I don't know. This sounds really stupid, but the practical takeaway from that is like if you have a skyscraper campaign, a broken link campaign, an unlinked mention campaign that you're running or something like that, and you're only running it off Ahrefs, you should go run it off of Moz or some other company that has their own crawl as well. Compare those two lists, and you're going to find that there's less overlap than you actually think. Like you're going to be able to grow the number of sites you contact based on that.
Chris, Moz, Ahrefs, SEM, RAS, they have their own index, and they have also their own requirements of which link they will display, they will show you. Okay, for example, Ahrefs, in order to show you, to display the tier ones that an asset has, it has to have 2 referring domains.
Interesting. Okay.
I guess Moz has other requirements about which URLs they display. That is why there is this difference. Also, Google itself, Google Search Console, they show us a portion of our link profile. So you never know exactly what is your link profile, but anyway.
I always recommend Majestic.
Rankings is what matters. So if you see something go up, you say, okay, I'm on a good track.
Yeah, I would use Majestic as well as Ahrefs, SEMrush. I wouldn't necessarily use Moz anymore. So I would use those three plus GSC. And then if you want to assess the value of the link, I often turn to Kerbu, which isn't a really well-known company. So please don't spam them. Like, don't you all start using them because, you know, it's a valuable resource. But Kerbu will assess the value of the link and whether or not it's bad or good or indifferent. And so between all of those tools, you can actually get a really good idea of what your backlink profile is or your competitors. So like Majestic gives you the opportunity to put in up to 9 competitors and get a really good idea. So I've used them a lot for link building to just scrape the competition's backlink profile, dedupe, and then start aggressively pursuing. But Majestic, Ahrefs, SEMrush, Google Search Console, dedupe, check it in Kerbu if you need to check if it's toxic, and boom, Bob's your uncle.
Google Search Console is a very, very good resource because we've noticed that they show also links that they have crawled but not indexed.
Oh, discovered, yeah.
Yeah. They show on the link profile crawled links and not only indexed links.
On for your site, for your personal site, rather than backlink.
Yeah, for our own sites, our client sites.
Yeah, so for sites you control, it will show you under your crawl. You will see discovered, not currently indexed, and those are ones that have an issue or just haven't been added to the index yet. But I mean, if you look at Google Search Console's backlink list, you can export that as well. So you can actually chuck that and others into Kerbu. If especially, we haven't really talked about much about taking link penalties and recovering. Oh, it's should I tell you people? You'll all start using it. Damn it. It's KERBOO. Don't abuse it. KERBOO, Kerbu. And it was designed by 2 old hat spammers who used to fill the internet with spam links and now tell you whether they're toxic or not. And then you've also got link research tools from Kemper.
Is that Gareth Hoyle's old software? Yeah. That's the spammer. Yeah, he's a spammer.
Gotta love him. Paul David Madden and yeah.
Right, guys. It's been a lot of fun, but we have already surpassed the hour. So thank you very much for joining in, and thanks everyone for the questions. I keep getting bombarded with lots and lots of emails every day with questions, so that's lovely. So thank you for your participation, and thanks all the audience.
Thank you. And I'm sure any of us are open to DMs or emails or tweets or whatever. If anybody has questions, I'm sure Gary, Chris, Elias, myself, and I know you, Mads, are absolutely responsive to questions. So if anyone watching has questions, don't hesitate to hit us up.
And great point. Stacy just messaged me and said anyone have questions to her talk, they're welcome to tweet her. So thanks, guys.